Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Perfect Pair Show. My name is Rae-Ann.
On each other to start the show.
You said what?
I said, me and you waiting on. Are you gonna intro or me?
Hey, we rolling.
We rolling, you guys. But yes, My name is Rufaro.
And today we are wrapping up the last bit of the book, The Science of Happily Ever After. And then we're going to go into a conversation about life. I genuinely want to hear Rufaro's perspective on two things that I feel are relevant to what I'm experiencing maybe the past few weeks or maybe 2 weeks. So
But
that's what we're gonna do.
sum up the book though.
Yes.
I feel like we told you guys all we needed to tell, and from this video or from this these two videos that we've done, we clearly don't believe in the book because
That
not only no
believe
no
in some of it.
no no not only do we say we believe in the three wishes: kind, loyal, fair. And then we went on a whole tangent about if you want
We did.
somebody unique, listen, just put it out in the universe, or God gonna hear you and they're gonna grant your wishes. Oh, the book is three wishes.
The book is three, but
How
we
is
would
it so
very much
unique?
so like, let's have 10.
Oh yeah, you're like, oh, unicorn? We're like, yeah, I mean, focus on the three, but like just also wish for it. No, it's either three or it's not
I
three.
know, I
You
know.
are
It's,
just
it's hard.
But I mean, the moral of the story is pick things that reflect values and character versus other things. But just put the other things out there just in case God is, being generous
Right.
and he's dishing out husbands. Next week is Valentine's. So maybe you might be able to go out tonight and bump
Right.
into someone. And then today's Tuesday when you see this.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? You might have a Valentine's on Friday, but
Hello?
I probably wouldn't be going on a Valentine's Day if I met someone on Tuesday, but that's your business. Not
Right.
mine. So again, with the wishes, if you don't think the wishes are valid, definitely let us know and definitely let us know your experience. I feel like also people are kind of burnt out from dating. The amount of people, and maybe they just tell me this because I'm single too, so they're like, oh, let's relate on this. But they're like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Which is maybe a little bit opposite to how we usually talk about things, which is
Right.
you cannot just let things
I agree.
you
It
can't,
can
you
be.
can't leave them to chance. There's gonna be some sort of effort that's there, and then maybe there's a part of it that you leave to chance. But like doing this show, if we want to increase our numbers, our viewership, our listenership, we can put out the content. But if we don't market it, that's leaving it up to chance.
That
So
is
it's
leaving
like
to
you kind
chance.
of there's a bit of luck with content as well, and also if God agrees, and then like it also all goes hand in hand. But there's some work to be done in dating,
Yeah.
and then there's other work where it's like right time, right place,
Mm-hmm.
and the person as well, right time, right place in their own life.
Mm-hmm.
Also, your friend could just become friends with somebody who's your husband.
Right.
And people hate that. People are like, I want to date somebody who nobody knows. And I'm like, I want to date somebody that somebody introduced me to. So that
Right.
I don't have to do 100% of the searching and I can
Right.
just do 50%
Right.
of
And you also
confirm.
do have to do 100% of the validation either. Like trying to make sure they're a good person, they're kind, like your friend would have already done that. So I
And
just
it's also, I think it's also less of that and more of like that I'm finding right now. It's like people aren't generally going to be unkind, but it's just kind of boring in the beginning.
it's kind of what in the
Wait,
beginning.
wait, wait. Why you make that face?
I think it has some people who are like,
But is it unkind or is it selfish, right? Like there's people who want a partner so that the partner can do stuff for them and they're not trying to be a partner, but they want a partner. And that is selfish. And I feel like actually men are really good about setting boundaries and being like, well, if it doesn't serve me, I'm not going to compromise. Not all men, of course. Like, but especially in the beginning, they're less, I think, forgiving about compromising before they like somebody versus girls are like, oh, maybe it won't be as.
right,
Like I was
right,
laughing at your list where you're like, no kids, and then it goes, okay, one kid. Like, nice baby mama. And it's like, that pretty much sums up
right.
women in the beginning stages where it's like, oh, let me compromise, and then at the end you're like,
Damn.
I didn't really like this. But so I think that generally speaking,
Mm-hmm.
people are kind of kind,
Okay.
but it's like if you're already friends with someone, you're probably going to be like, oh, we should go. I haven't gone bowling in such a long time, but I really miss bowling. We should go bowling because Farah probably won't mind going bowling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's already like some relatability, we can bond on that. But trying to just meet someone and trying to figure out where do we have something in common is so hard because in the beginning stages needs to be like small talk. What do you
Yeah.
like to do? What do I
Yeah.
like? Where do you stay? Oh, in the Bronx? Not going to the Bronx.
Right.
You go here, and then everyone in New York too
Uh-huh.
is always trying to find a place that's closest to their home.
Uh-huh.
So they'll be like, yeah, let's go to this really nice place. I'll be like, oh, where do you stay? So we're around the
Yeah.
corner. Oh, okay, no, I'm meeting halfway because I'm not going 45 minutes for
Yeah.
you to walk 5 minutes.
Right. Right.
Let me shush. You're the
But
one in a
no,
relationship.
no, no. I agree. I think that we were willing to like. I mean, the book is science too, right? And
It is.
science is like very 1, 2, 3. That's the statistic. Da da da. And we're like, well, in life, let's be
Gray
open to
area.
more things. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it is true that we agree with the book, but also don't agree. However, the thing that I think is important is that if you really want a long term relationship, the type of partner that you choose need to reflect one that will give you that long term relationship. And the 3 wishes that he told us to focus on are the things that would give you long term. So even if you get the unicorn with the other stuff too, that's a plus. But the main thing is like, somebody
Exciting
who's
factor.
kind, yeah, those things give you the long-term relationship. So, it's all good. That's just book number 1. It have other books with contradicting information probably to this book. So we'll see how it goes.
If you have any success stories, still I want to hear them. I don't know if people want to be so forthcoming,
Yeah.
but
With
I'd
like,
love to know if anyone's like, oh my gosh, that's a revelation to think of it in that order, like kindness, fairness, and loyalty, the way the book described it.
mm-hmm.
Because I feel like a lot of people kind of know this, but it's
Yeah.
still not working. So it's like, what else? There's another piece of the puzzle that's probably like missing in dating today. And it's going to keep getting more and more complicated. It's like, and it's something that he mentioned, which he was like, the author, you learn one way of dating and then it changes. And so you're basically going to bake a cake without a recipe or with an old recipe. And it doesn't work out, or it doesn't come out the way you were told it's supposed to work out. So now it's like, whoa, where do I get the new recipe? And by the time you get the new recipe, maybe there's a new recipe. So it's like, how do
Yeah.
you?
And remember, his book was not taking into consideration online dating, like dating app.
It did not.
No, like social media was out at that point, but not
Yeah,
dating apps the way everybody dating online now.
that's true. That's true.
So
Ooh, he needs to tie, and ooh,
he
he
need
needs
an
to be
update
next
for
to
that.
last.
No, seriously, he does because
He
and
should.
his other book is about awkward and stuff, and I think that is probably more relevant to the online dating side because a lot of people just becoming less social because they're not like being around a group. And therefore, they consider themselves awkward in a social situation
When they're really not.
when they're not, right? They're not. But because they think that in their head, that's what they're projecting, that's what the other people gonna pick up.
Yeah,
And
it's like
that
confirmation
affects
bias.
that affects your dating. That affects your dating. So I would like to hear his perspective on the online dating, the social anxiety, awkwardness type thing, and how like what advice he would give for that. Yeah, Ty.
Dude, that would be so good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in all seriousness, though, this is me going off on a little tangent. I do think that because people spending less time in social settings, they're really not practicing the skills they need to be social. And at the end of the day, for dating, you are in a social environment, as
Yep.
in you and the other person going out, and you have to interact with each other. But you cannot read the signs and you thinking, oh, I'm awkward. Da, da, da. Like I listened to this video and this girl was talking about how she went to a wedding,
Hmm.
or was it a wedding or an event, and she felt out of place. And in my head, I was like,
Like
we
what?
reached a point where somebody invites you to something. So I want you to come out with me, and yet still you come and you don't feel like you belong. But I invited you. So I'm like, is it really like,
Well,
okay, go ahead.
depends on like it depends on what the invitation was. Like if I get invited to a place where it's but I talk too much, so it's probably easy. But if I get invited and I'm not friends with anybody except for the person who invited,
Mm-hmm.
you can feel out of place. Because now it's almost like if you feel like, oh, I can't really just approach anyone or speak to anyone, which I don't think is true, by the way, because I know some
Mm-hmm.
people say that. Then you feel like, oh, I have to stick to the person who invited me, or else I don't have anyone to speak to, and now you're just like in the corner. But I feel like there's always going to be the person out of the other group that'll say, hey, you're Rand's friend, like,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll just start to like try to speak to you,
Bring
and
you.
that makes
Right.
it less awkward. So I think in conjunction with that, I think that there's also, where was I listening to this, there's also less spaces for men and women to interact without there being a dating connotation. So when you went to
Mm-hmm.
college and you went to school, you're just in class,
Right.
you're just in at a party, even if it's a frat party, we're just existing. I think they said church used to be that
You're
for
right.
people, but now if you're gonna meet somebody, it's solely for that. So there's also like too much pressure and like less kind of that flowy vibe of like, oh, let's just see if we like to exist together
Right.
as like friends.
Or sometimes you're not even thinking about that. You all just had a good time and you're like, oh, I kind of like you in a
And
way,
maybe
even though,
yeah, maybe you don't. Like because you like somebody, you automatically think, oh, maybe we should be together. But
right.
it's like
Right.
maybe you should just be friends.
Right. True.
Because now I've also, and this is going into a tangent. I love how we said we'll wrap this up
I know,
quickly.
I know.
We
It's
are.
story of a life.
But this is a tangent, but like I feel like that the lack of that dynamic also makes it weird for people to be friends with the opposite sex and the other
Mhm.
person feel like secure. Like, and I could tell this because I have some homeboys who I can tell when they're in a relationship, like my notifications will be silenced. And not because they won't respond, they will respond, but like maybe just because like we chit chat so much that they're trying to like manage.
The girl's insecurity about it.
And the thing is like it's not even like texting late or anything like that. I mean, granted, we're all like all over the world, so it depends on whenever you get my text. It could be 4 p.m. for me, but midnight for you.
Right.
But the person knows. But it should be okay for me to be like, oh, let me call you and your girlfriend's there, and we chit chat. Like I have a friend
Right.
who's married. Me and him will catch up. His wife comes in from work. We all chit chatting. Like it's
Right.
not a big deal. But I find like there's less of a normalization of these like male and female friendships that makes it then more awkward when people get in a relationship because it's like, oh, I immediately enjoyed hanging out with you and speaking with you, which meant we should be in a relationship. So if you do that with some other girl, does that mean there's something else romantic there?
Hmm.
Or I don't know. I just feel like there needs to be more social spaces. And I like that there've been now more events that are like dating, speed dating, or I think one is called like Your Friend Set You Up. There's one in New York where like you and your fiance will go out and invite
To see.
me as your friend and
Right.
then like his friend, but it's not to like it's a little
Gotcha.
less indirect, so it's not like, oh, we're trying to set them up. It's like
Oh, we just all
four of us
hanging
just want to
out.
go out.
Right.
Exactly. And if it works out, it works out, but if it doesn't, cool, we're just all still hanging out.
Hmm.
Whereas there should be more of let's just all hang out. And there's no secretly, ooh, who do I think of too? And then
Right.
be able to,
Right.
yeah. There needs to be more friendships.
Yeah, I agree with
Comes
that
down to
too.
that. Yeah. Because even all those people saying, oh, I'm not social, a lot of those people are lonely. Like because I moved to New York, I'm like, damn, I can't just like drive to Tootie's house and be
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm coming, let's go out, let me drive you to do this. People are kind of in little solo pods. Yeah. So yeah, in the bubbles.
Yeah, I do think people really do need to try to be more social in all seriousness.
Like it's actually not funny to be like, I just love to stay in my house and like do nothing. Like we have to stop saying those things because we were really like not only normalizing them, we're continuing to speak into them, and they cement what's going to happen. Like your words become things. Like we're going to continue to say, oh, I just like to stay in my house. We're going to continue to stay in the house.
Right. And not only that, like you lose the skill, like being social, learning how to navigate social spaces. These things are skills. And your brain plasticity, all of that. Like if you're not using something, you lose it. If you're not going out into the environment, learning how to read body language, learning how to read, okay, this person trying to talk to me, this, this little twinge in the eye means this little twinge in the eye means that. Then you go out there and your body receiving all these signals and it's like, I don't know what none of this mean. I become overwhelmed. And then where you right back at home alone. Like you need to, I do think people need to be more social for sure.
And even like I actually really wish or miss going out to like listen to music. Like when we used to go out, like I know people now are like, I don't go to the club, we're going like with 30, and it's like, but the club was never supposed to be whatever the club is now with this whole section and blah blah blah. Sometimes you're just in there having a good time, like listening to music, and it's like, oh, you can listen to music at home by yourself.
Right.
I do. But why not with other people
that you're just having fun with?
I remember this one day we went to we were in Austin. We went to 6th Street. I can't remember, it was like after we finished exams or something. I mean, probably not, because it didn't matter what we had going on. We wanted to go out. But we were like, oh, let's just go Sunday fun day. It's like 3 p.m. Let's just hang out. And it was like empty in there. We probably had like 2-3 drinks max, but they were playing all kinds of silly songs. I think Taylor Swift 22 was out, and I think maybe I was 22, because I was always 1 year older than the year we were in, and we were just having a good time. And I remember us laughing about it later because we're like, we don't even listen to Taylor Swift like that. But why was that so much fun? Because it was like just a carefree,
just
vibe. We didn't come here with no expectations for no kind of music. We just came here to have a good time. We didn't even come here to really like drink like that. We just wanted to spend a little bit of time and then everybody go home. And it was just so much fun. But like now I feel like there's even a stigma to be like, oh, I want to go to, well, I'm not in New York, people be partying. But I don't know, it just feels, it doesn't feel as natural. Even one of my friends, I know I'm going on and on about this, but one of my friends even said she moved to Germany. And she was like, damn, like I miss just going to like, she used to stay in South Africa and she used to go to her friend's house and just like lay on the couch and do nothing. She's like, that was enough for me. Like we don't even need to, and we probably trained ourselves because of doing that because we went to boarding school. So it was like, you totally did that.
Right.
I would go to somebody's friend, I'm opening their snacks, I'm like, please. Like it just reading books on Rand's bed just because it's like we're bonding, we're not even talking, we're not nothing, we're just in the same place just vibing. So I think like there needs to be more of those natural, low pressure, no expectations, just having someone in your vicinity that actually does feel some sort of bonding and connection. And I think we're missing a lot of that.
Yeah, I agree.
We are.
I agree.
But you have a question for me. I hope I can answer your question, child.
No. I think you can. Where we are similar is that we both came from different countries to the US. And we spoke about this in the first introductory episode where, well, I don't know if we spoke about it in the episode or after. Now I'm trying to remember in the episode, but no, the fact that when we came to the US, because we were from countries where everybody was Black and racism was different.
Yeah,
we didn't.
For sure.
Right, like it was more about class, right?
Which America is too, but
yes, but it's still race is also a big part of it, right? So for me, and this might be controversial, hopefully it's not. Sometimes I think that I am more willing to see white people in a positive light. And I think it stems from the whole, I didn't grow up here with the racism, even though I 100% admit that it exists and it's really bad. I think that sometimes I am like less
Is it because I'm black?
negatively judging because of what?
Like you're less, you think if something happens, you don't automatically think like, is it because I'm black? Or if they do something, you don't automatically think, oh, it's because they're white.
More like if something happens and it brings like I'm like, oh, this is racism for sure. Yes. But if yeah, I guess I don't look at every situation as race. Like most situations, I'm looking at it for what it is. But then something will direct me to be like, oh, this is race. For me, the issue is when I am like around a group of Black people and we're talking about a situation that involved white people, and in my head I'm like, damn, I didn't even think about it like that, and I'm not like as negative toward the person. Like I'm still willing to be like, well, maybe they didn't mean it that way, or I'm just like, no, it could be race. There's no, because a lot of it is unconscious. But I'm still less likely to like treat the person as like or keep a distance from them because I don't. It's not. I don't know. It's very hard to find the words. But the point is that I feel like because I didn't grow up here, I still have a less intense negative look at white people, even at work, in church, and it plays out differently when the group I'm in is Black.
Because they're trying to figure out why you can't see what they see, or why you're not, or why you're more open to trying to understand.
Yes, and sometimes I feel like, damn, I'm betraying because I'm like, well, maybe it wasn't race, or I just don't try to assume the worst. And yes, like I'm for my sister no matter what. So that's why I feel like, man, am I betraying my sister by being like, well, give Becky a chance?
I definitely had plenty of these experiences in college. Didn't go
No,
so
but
well,
what about, okay, go ahead. College
but
and then after. Because this is
yeah.
this week.
Nah, not this week. I don't really. So I don't have too many Black people like at work. So
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I almost never have those. In fact, I'm usually the one like, should race apply here? Like,
Right.
am I just thinking it's me? But
Okay,
it's like,
that's
is it
true.
because it's Black me? So I think when I was in college, I would definitely ask a lot of questions. And I think I stopped asking questions to certain people because I was like, okay, there's clearly something going on here, so I need to learn more. For example, the whole police brutality thing, I was not, what's the word? I like when I was in Zimbabwe, I wasn't tuned into news like that. Like I was just going about my school life. So I didn't know this side of like police brutality. And so I think Trayvon Martin was killed. And I was like, oh, what did he do? But
Mhm.
I didn't know. I was
Right.
I didn't know you didn't need to do anything. So I was that, oh my gosh. I think somebody was like, that's not the point. And I was thinking,
Right.
so then people explained, and now obviously.
Right.
But for me, I think it comes in like little ways where I'm not thinking about it, but I'm like, should I have been thinking about that? For example, I was doing interviews like 2 years ago, and one of my friends was like, yeah, you have to, have straight hair because the interviewer might think might take differently to you than if you have like braids. And I was like, wait. And you know me, Ren, I like to change
Right.
my hair. I'll do what I just dyed my hair 2 years ago with ginger, and then like I switched it up, made it lighter, went to blonde. Now I'm back to black, and I'll do the braids to match. And when I'm changing my hair all the time, I didn't even think about that. I was thinking, I'll just go braids. What do you mean? Like I'm just gonna go do the thing.
I mean, braids is professional. Like at home, so many people wear braids.
So when I was at work with my blonde braids, and then I went well, first of all, when I was at work with my blonde braids, I think one day I was going out after work, so I had makeup on. And they're like, oh my gosh, the makeup looks really good, like with your hair and everything. You should wear makeup every day. And I was like, no, that's okay. Because I don't wear makeup to work because I can't be bothered. It's either sleep or makeup. And so later on, I changed my hair, and I think I was like wearing a wig with black or whatever. And somebody was like to me, "Oh my gosh, I like your hair better like this." And so if I was in Zimbabwe, I would have not actually cared. Like I wouldn't have linked it to anything, actually. It would have just been like, "Oh, that's cool. They like my hair, like whatever. I'm still gonna do whatever I want to do." I actually wouldn't have thought twice about it, to be honest. It would have just been like, "Okay, cool." But now I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" And also, do you think that there's black people on blonde? And also, why do you think you need to say it like that? Why do you think your opinion should care? And I don't think I would have had that outlook if I lived anywhere else. Because genuinely, I think sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes it is, I just like your hair better like this. But I think sometimes it's also the racist kind. So in order for you, I think, to protect yourself, people want to be like, to be on the safe side, let me just assume the worst, which is a tough way to exist. And so I actually, which might be cowardly, but I try not to really challenge people when they like will give the benefit of the doubt, because I like to just be like, yeah, there's a possibility that they probably just meant it like this, but I can also see where you're coming from since you're saying this, because I know y'all's history and I didn't grow up here. I just have context of like 10-ish years. I don't have parents who think like that. I don't have siblings who think like that. I don't have friends. Some, obviously, some, but like some don't. All of those layers I don't have, whereas you do. While I'm asking you to maybe think of the other side, I get why you may not want to consider it at all.
Yeah.
That's kind of my approach, because and I would feel like I always reference Trevor Noah. If you see this thing too, hello, I watch your stuff. But he said trying to explain the Black experience is like trying to describe an invisible train that hit you, but like nobody else can see it.
You're right.
And you're trying to, you felt it, you know it happened, but nobody else saw it who's like not Black. So, and I was like,
No external validation.
but but like, you can't prove it.
Right.
It's invisible.
It's invisible.
So there is some of that, and America is just very tricky at the end of the day. It definitely is more classes. They just dress it up as racism and really drive that point home. I think it's still worth giving the benefit of the doubt, or the other side, though, because that's no way to, like, I don't want to say that's no way to live life, but it's tough living that way, thinking everyone's racist. Is all I'm gonna say. It's tough, and it's exhausting, because now you're constantly overanalyzing every single thing, and even if it is meant to be overanalyzed, sometimes just don't. I told you before, I love being ignorant.
Oh yeah.
Love being. I'm gonna
Let's
act like I don't even know what's going on, but I know what's going on. I'm gonna
yeah.
go home and I'm gonna be like, you know what she said? She said.
Yeah, man, I feel like and maybe this is my perception of the situation too. This might even be reality. But it's like you kind of have to choose a side. You just kind of have to choose. You can't do both, you know?
I think you should do both.
Mm,
I think you should still be careful, though, because there are situations where you need to identify and then move accordingly.
right.
But where it's harmless, you need to pick your battles.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
You need to pick your battle. But I think sometimes you might need to look out and be like, that situation was weird. I'm gonna drop it because it's a one-time thing. If it continues to happen
Yeah,
in a certain
right.
type of way, and you can also sometimes tell when people are being genuine, like genuine curiosity. Oh, how long did your hair take? I don't even have examples, because I really don't know. Or like if you're coming into your apartment and they're like, let me see your let me see your ID. Like, do you really live here? Like certain things are like
Right.
don't matter.
You knew.
You tell.
Yeah. That's true. That is true. It's just tricky. It's very, very tricky. Very, very tricky. And I think, like, depending on the environment, it makes it even more tricky. You know, like if you're at work and all your superiors is one race, everybody below is another.
We
You
work
know?
in finance, so it's almost always. I mean, maybe it's different industries.
No, it's not. And if you want to like move up, you can't be like you can't have that big of a distance in terms of like the closeness of the relationship that you're trying to develop if you want to move ahead. Because if they are the ones ahead and they have to bring you along,
You cannot be at. you cannot be, is it because I'm black, everything? Because now also people are going to be like, we can't be around her. We'll have to tiptoe, so we can't promote you because we always on edge. We don't know if we say the wrong thing all the time. So there may be a way to educate without directly making people feel uncomfortable. And I even hesitate to say it like that because you shouldn't live to make white people feel comfortable that they're not racist, but you shouldn't blow too many. What's the boy who cried wolf?
Right.
Where it's like now every little thing is racist. That when there's something racist, they're like, "Oh, here she go again."
Right, right. Yeah, it's tricky. It is tricky to navigate. And the crazy thing is, what's blowing my mind, the fact that I am in Dallas, which is more diverse than Alabama.
Yeah, but you're in Texas and Dallas too.
No. I'm saying that in Alabama, where I felt I really was the only in a lot of situations, like for real, 100%. I had less times of navigating racist stuff then versus now in Dallas, where it's more diverse, where I am now at least.
I
So
think
it,
that makes sense though.
huh?
I think that makes sense because
Okay.
you're the only one. So I feel like not only would you be less willing to point out those things in your brain because you're like, well, how else am I going to survive if I'm the only black person? And I
Right.
keep pointing out that all these people are racist. You're not going to, humans are always meant to live in community. So you're not going to just outright continue to point out that you're so different and they don't like you, they don't like you. You won't survive there. But
True.
in Dallas, you have options. You could be fine. I'm only going to hang out with my black hole or
Right.
whatever. And it's like way easier that now y'all in the cocoon. Oh, did you see how they? Yeah, I think, and that's not bad because sometimes it's valid. But
Right. Absolutely.
sometimes let's just drop it. Sometimes it's not. Yeah, that may be very controversial. I'm sorry, but it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I can't.
it's just it's hard. This is the first time I'm having to like think about these kind of things, and I'm trying to like move accordingly. Where one, I'm staying true to myself. Two, I'm thinking about my future career. Three, I always gotta be, ready to fight. And it's like a lot of things to balance at the same time, and I'm like,
I'm exhausted.
this is tough. This is tough.
And black people always um sometimes you don't succeed in your career if you have talent and drive, but there's also a factor of like social and professional networking. And the people who are social and professionally networked get further in their career. Well, how are you gonna get further if you don't like white people? Because you're gonna continue to
Especially for our industry where it's predominantly white. Like, the CFO, how much time do you see in a black CFO?
not only is it predominantly white, it's predominantly male.
It is
I probably
predominantly
a
male.
majority of my meetings are, and I was actually thinking about this yesterday because I was like, I am absolutely a DI hire. I no, it's for real. I am in a dynamic where I'm in a leadership team, but I am black, I am female, I'm not American, and I'm also the youngest. And so I usually will have like ideas that are so
Fetched from what they think.
far. Like the people who I work with, some of them, their children are my age. And so there's
Mhm.
really like a big gap. And, but I also I have a lot of friends who are like 10 years older than me, which I love because I love listening to older people tell me, yo, you need to max out on your retirement. I'm like, yo, you're right. None of my friends told me that. You the same age, nobody told me that. And so there's like I think I add value to the team because of those kinds of things. And then also, if like the interns come in, I also watch a lot of like rubbish on YouTube. We'll bond on that, or "Oh, fine, let's go get matcha." But like nobody's saying let's go get matcha to like a 60-year-old, for example, because they're feeling a little less relatable to them. So if you have nobody who's your age, who's your gender, who's your race, who's your nationality. How are you gonna do that? And
Right.
that's typical in finance too.
Yeah.
It's very typical.
Hmm.
You're gonna have to. There's gonna be some give or take. So
Right.
I think it also makes it easier to hope that people have good intentions, but just be mindful of them versus all white people.
Right. You're just giving them the side eye all the time.
There's some white people who are great. There's some white people who've helped me get better pay because they told me they were making literally double. They're like, we have same years experience. I make double more than you. I'm like, what? How should I even ask for more money? They're like, might be a little strong, but this is what I did. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go try it, and it works. And then I'm trying to get attention from maybe somebody in HR. Nobody's helping, but then my white friend would be like, yo, Rufara's having difficulties. Go check on her, and it helped. I've literally had situations where my white coworkers were like, nah,
I
bro,
got you.
I'm gonna go raise a flag, something wrong here, come help. And I've literally gotten help. So I think like, well, we know not all white people are. I think it's just easy when you have a few experiences to be like, I'm just gonna stay away. But just like humans, we kind of need to like lean in. And then if they prove themselves to be trash,
Right.
then yeah,
You
should
act
be good.
accordingly. Exactly.
But give people a chance.
Right. Right. And the other thing is, I do not agree with the theory of like when you come to work, you have to be 100% professional. Don't bring emotions when you're asking for things like a raise or promotion. Be 100% professional. Be like, this
I'm a
is the
human
end.
being.
Huh?
I'm a human being. I
I
have
know,
emotions.
but I feel like a lot of people have the perspective of like, it's business. You lay out the evidence, it is what it is. And, like when you're talking to your boss or whoever, don't use the word I feel. Be like, this is the situation. I have done X, Y, and Z. And as a result of doing X, Y, and Z, I deserve F or what. Like, just keep it professional, you know, be human, as you said. Like, I just,
Well, I feel like if you don't give me a raise, I'm not gonna be able to pay this rent. So yeah, I don't get paid on rent. But when I quit and they say, "Oh, why did you leave?" Because I'm not making enough money to live my life. But I can't come to the table and say, "Well, you haven't given me a raise in 2 years or 3 years, whatever." And my rent has gone up twice. So this pay isn't working because based on inflation and this, inflation and stuff has nothing to do with what you're doing at your job. That's none of your business. Like you could be, but that's based on market value, right? Just as far as like cost of living. Companies take that into consideration because everything isn't about just what you're going to be doing. And honestly, too, if it was just about what you're going to be doing, you probably should get paid more. And they're not going to do that. And so there's a balancing act of like cost of living. I actually did this when I got a job previously at some company, and they had wanted to give me a base salary at a certain level. And I was like, no, Austin's expensive. And they went back and they gave me more. That's totally emotional. That has nothing to do with anything. But I was like, based on cost of living, I'm not going to be able to work at this job and live in the city and work here on this amount of money. Like I need a little bit more. And even things like if you're trying to like get more skills, sometimes they're not directly valuable to the company. That's not an emotional thing, but that's also like doesn't really help them. So everything doesn't need to be a one-to-one professional decision. And in order to get further in companies, like you said, that social aspect is a big deal. And it may involve you telling people where you went on holiday, what you was doing, even though you don't want to. They gonna ask you. You can't just be like, I don't want to say whatever. Even if you start off making something up, at some point you're gonna be like, I'm just because they're gonna continue to ask questions and blah blah blah. What happened? Where did you want to like when I went to last year, and I'm African, we don't tell people where we go until we come back. And when I was last year, they were like, "Oh, where you going? Where you going?" And I was like, "Say this, man." And I was like, "Okay, I'm going to Europe." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Which countries?" So I listed them out. They're like, "Whoa, whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, but I wanted to go to Japan."
Mhm.
Sorry, you're going to Switzerland, but you wanted to go to Tokyo. And I was like, yeah, whatever. There was some racism in Europe. So I come back and I'm like literally telling my boss, and they're literally listening. And then it's like, okay, like what's on our agenda for today? And it's fine. Like it's literally just like, okay, pieces of information. I want to learn snowboarding. I know my boss goes snowboarding every year. That could be a cool, like, yo, I'm trying to learn, where should I go? Like, or do you have any tips? Or do you ski or snowboard? Like, which one's easier? Those little things, that's when people are like, you know what, she cool. Actually, I have this project that's coming up. I'm gonna let her know because it's coming up in winter. Maybe even afterwards, we could just talk about the skiing. I could just ask her, yo, how did the skiing go? Oh, okay, you know what? I just wrapped up this project. Are you gonna be able to? That's how things happen. Things happen when you go on to happy hours. That's where they discuss, oh, you're so cool. There's this thing going on. But if you're like, I'm always gonna go home, I don't want to hang out with my coworkers after work, is what it is, gang. Don't complain. That's where them deals be happening. That's why
Yeah,
people literally learn how to play golf because of that.
yeah, I just think the idea of you have to keep it 100 professional. Don't let people know about your personal life. Don't get close to people. Don't let them, like, don't give, like, it's like the idea is if you give them information, it's ammunition. And let's believe sometimes it could be, but I want to like my job and like the people that I work with, and I want to be friends with them. And I am just surprised by how many people are against that and to the depth that they're against it. I'm just like, it's not that bad. Like, like
Like, what did y'all work? What happened?
if I like my coworkers and I feel like we are all cool and we get along and like if I'm in the hospital, you gonna come and give me blood. Or instead of being like, I'll say a prayer. Like,
And you know what's another thing is like people are more collaborative if you are cool with them. Like, so if you go out to dinner, work dinner, you're explaining stuff, you're like, oh, remember that time we went to this place, whatever the bill was on the company, cool, cool. Then later on, they're like, yo, are you still struggling with that thing? Actually, this happened to me plenty of times. We had a like a resource group, and it was for like people of color. Uh, I actually still speak to one of my coworkers who I met at my previous job because we'd be like, yo, we might be late to the dinner. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because we have to do A, B, C, and it takes up so much time. But they're a developer or an engineer. But we don't cross paths at work. So they're like, oh, why don't you just do A, B, C? And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, if you do this and this and this, it'll work. So it's like, oh, when we go back to work the next day, remind me and I'll show you. But it's because we were just like casually kind of discussing it at dinner. And then now you also meet people, which is my other thing, which is like if there aren't any people in your direct team, which is very possible, that happens all the time, that you could be also maybe in a level where you're not going to mingle with people below you, because sometimes that's kind of not discouraged, but you and your boss aren't going to have the same chummy energy as you and a peer. And I think it's also done on purpose so that there's some sort of boundary. So if you don't have enough people to mingle with, you could go to different teams. And those different teams could end up also just being helpful to your job, or you could move to those teams. You never know. Could be a better team. So there's so much opportunity. At the end of the day, humans always want to be in a community. They never want to be by themselves. You will leave the jobs that where you're not cool with your coworkers way quicker than the ones where you love your coworkers. And for all the people I know, and I hope I meet more Black people like who have these stories. There are a lot of my non-Black friends that have moved jobs and have not had to interview. They just had a conversation. Hey, I used to work with you 9 years ago, 6 years ago. We're now here. I heard you're looking for a situation. I even had a friend who was she just wanted like a part-time situation for a bit to have a break and then end up being full-time, and she was able to negotiate that she'll be part-time for as long as she wants to. And then they gave her a date of like, okay, by this date, you're gonna have to tell us if you want to be full-time or not. She did not interview. I had a person who moved jobs twice without interviewing. I have had no Black friends, and I'm always like, I need that situation where somebody's like, Hey, I met you at a conference. One of my friends, she met somebody at a conference. Hit them up. Yo, I'm looking to do a change because I'm moving. I need a job. Do you have something? They're like, yep. I actually have space on my team. When can you start? These people do not interview. That happens through those connections that you're making at work, those social connections, because people remember, oh, it's really nice to work with her. They probably remember your work ethic, but they remember more how enjoyable it was to work with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And let me tell you, that is the type of movements I want. Like,
I
I feel
mean,
like that's kind of my perspective this year. I'm trying to build out a network where if I need to rely on it professionally, I can.
yeah.
Like I'm being intentional about it, like what we were talking about with dating. You're being intentional about the connections you're trying to make. Strategic, you think about it, you make plans, you analyze it, is it working, is it not, and see how it goes. Yeah, after a certain level, like I feel like after you make manager, when you're trying to make director, senior director, whatever, it is not interviews. It's not you apply on the
Talent,
website. Is
not even
no. It
talent.
is somebody who knows. It's not talent. It is not talent because everybody could think about a person several levels higher than them who can't use a computer, but they're making the big bucks. And sometimes they be smart though. They be smart, but let me tell you, they can't do the basics.
Sometimes they're
It's
not that smart
some,
either, but they'll get somebody.
sometimes
Somebody though, but at the end of the day, they just need to have the people who are going to be smart enough to do the
to
work.
do the job, yeah, their team. I know that, yeah, that's another conversation. But I
Plenty
do
of people will leave or reject a higher paying job to stay because they like where they work or the people they work with.
right, right. But
So
I
yeah,
just think that the idea of being so professional that you're not giving anything personal, you don't want to be friends with people. And it all depends on your situation, it all depends on your job. This is not every single job. Because some people that I've spoken to who aren't like friends with their coworkers is completely understandable just because of the nature of their job. But like for ours where we on the business side or the finance side, like you have to I really think the relationship building is deeper than just like, hey, how are you? Hope you had a good weekend. Like it gotta go deeper than that. It have to. And the whole I not interviewing for a job, like it happening all the time. And people will be begging you to come and work on their team. Begging. And it's all from just connections. So
and send you a little Merry Christmases and Happy New Year's. Those little things matter too because people will remember you. So even if those people who maybe you've moved jobs and now you're no longer, or there used to be a client or you were the client, just being like, oh, Happy New Year, they'll be like, oh, you know what? I remember it was really nice. You know what? Next time I have a job, I'm gonna see if she's never know.
that's it. That's it.
You
So
never know.
I was just surprised that a lot of people disagreed with that. I'm glad you agree.
Also, it's social media. Sometimes, like we're in such echo chambers. Like people, I think, are in
Social
such.
media is so annoying to me now.
I'm like, should I start liking the MAGA people just to get like some variety of opinion? It just
I
seems like,
know.
oh,
No,
but it's not
I
fun.
know. Yeah, we were talking about that. Like I was, yeah, that was funny. But yeah, you definitely in an echo chamber on social media. That target marketing or targeting the things that you like will
Because
have you thinking everybody agreeing with what you agree with. So, but yeah, I am definitely on the side of I am going to make friends with my coworkers.
with whoever,
People 10 times above me, people below me, because I don't want to spend 8 hours a day with just people I don't like. And of course, I'm going to the office. So, if you're working from home, it's probably a different situation.
yeah.
But your girl is a social butterfly. I want everybody to be my friend. I mean,
I have a friend who used to make fun of her because he'd be like, "Why are you friends with everybody, bro?" And she really still to this day is cool with everybody.
yeah. I
That's
mean, Yeah. But yeah, that's my that was one of the things I was discussing this weekend, this last week. And it was just surprising to me that so many people were on the side of like, nope, you keep your coworkers at a distance. Don't trust these people because at the end of the day, if they need to cut you, they will, which is true, but still.
I actually think if you don't like your coworkers or if you need to do all of that, you should go work somewhere else if you can.
Mm,
It's actually so much easier not to be doing all of that. Like if you have to do all of that, that's exhausting. And
right.
you could
It's
probably
not the
go find
environment for you. It's a
no.
good point.
Go.
Well, that wraps up our questions, my questions. That wraps up the science of happily ever after. Tell us your opinions on the things that I asked Rufaro about, especially if you are on a diverse team. Are you choosing one side versus another? Are you friends with your coworkers or are you like, no, that's business? They only get how you going this weekend. I'm good. Did you have any plans? No, I stayed at home.
And also tell us what some content you'd love to hear from us.
Oh
Obviously,
yeah.
still
Or if you
very,
have a book recommendation.
still very new, so tell us we're just trying to we're interested in too many things.
We are. We are.
It's up the ADHD brain.
I mean,
So definitely we're gonna try and no, we're gonna do different things obviously, and then some things you guys might like more than others, but definitely
let
give
us
us some
know.
recommendations. If there's anything you'd like us to react to as well,
Yes.
feel free to drop it in the comments. And then yeah, we'll
Yeah,
together.
y'all. Comment. Don't be texting me. Don't be texting Rafaro. Comment.
It like defeats the purpose, guys. Hello. Like have you not heard of this algorithm we keep speaking of? Do you guys
Right.
not want to
Comment.
if I'm rich, you rich. We rich together.
Exactly. Exactly. You want to sponsor us? Let us know.
Yeah, if your companies, these same companies you're talking about, if your friend at work want to sponsor us,
Hello. I ain't gonna ask who. What color was the person who gave us that check? Hello.
who,
I ain't asking no questions.
brown, yellow, green, Smurf, I don't.
Thank you.
Does
All
it
right.
make it clear? Yes.
Bye.